Welcome back to Rabbit Culture of Narcissist Ninjas. Come see us at Facebook for further information on narcissism. Whether you're a professional or whether you want to gain information on recovery from this stain of existence, come on over and see us over there. Today I'm making a video about emotional intelligence because it is a factor in recovery, and it's something that I am still learning about in my old age. I really didn't have a whole lot of clue about what emotional intelligence was before my recovery process against narcissistic abuse. Basically, you look at there are two kinds of intelligences, which is EQ and IQ. The EQ is the emotional quotient. The IQ is intellectual quotient. And for many of my years, I drove in one lane on the intellectual quotient and gathered up studyings and reading and facts and data and tried to perhaps heal my brain with information. But unfortunately, that didn't work, and I still ended up in an abusive relationship. So I was trying to find the best way possible to explain, what emotional intelligence is, what it's about, what it's for. And I found the best site that I love, and I really adore this site. It's called equipourkids.org. And yes, it is for kids, but you know what? The way I would break it down to explain emotional intelligence to a kid is the same way I would break it down to explain it to a grown-up, because guess what? We're still kids. People don't realize it. We're kids on the inside, right? So this is kind of like a step-by-step guide, and I urge you to go to that website and fool around with it, get some information. I will also put a couple of more links of different things and videos and things in the description box so that you can do further analysis on the topic. And I'm going to, there's 7 steps here that are very easy to understand, that are very excellent at describing what emotional intelligence is and how you can get a better sense of it in your own life. And I'm going to explain those as we go in more detail. So from these 7 lists, like a list of things that can help develop a healthy child emotionally, it's the exact same for an adult. Understanding to manage emotional upsets, thoughts, behaviors, and understand. Now, can a narcissist benefit from learning about emotional intelligence? Of course they can. The problem with a narcissist, though, is that they're not going to do that. They're not going to dive into their psyche and realize that they don't regulate their emotions enough. A lot of narcissists end up having to be mandated to go to things like anger management and to different things. And they go through them like a robot almost, and they can mimic what they need to do to gain access away from the program, and they can mimic signs that they're learning, but they do not internalize that growth oftentimes. Now, if a child is heading towards the spectrum of narcissism, I wonder if I've been researching a lot about this, haven't come to 100% findings yet, so I would not claim to say that if a child is interceptive. I often have a theory, here we go again with that theory, I have a theory that if a child is caught, we'll say, or intercepted at a very crucial stage of development, and they're giving these tools and they're like in a very structured way, I believe there can be a good outcome. But the problem with that is you don't diagnose children as narcissistic, and you also are not always able to pinpoint that kind of what I consider a breaking point, for the personality to start forming into narcissism. Could it happen at the first year of life? Could it happen at a later stage? Could it happen during puberty, right? So it's really hard to determine. So then when would you do that, interception for intervention? Whoa. So as the first step, as was mentioned, was to learn to regulate emotions, which can be a lifetime. When you're recovering as an adult from trauma, there are already systems and habits, and a personality has been developed. So to unlearn those reactions and to unlearn those unhealthy behaviors is an incredible thing to do. And that's my bird, and she's right now not regulating her emotions. So come over here, Teo. Come on. So as a result of ongoing effort of creating a new system of regulation for emotions, the next step is to create healthy bonds and learn how to resolve conflicts and collaborate with other people, right? Which is very difficult when you're in a pattern of negative. And that's why you see like people like myself who ended up leaving one abusive relationship, then finding themselves in other difficult situations, and then again later in life another abusive relationship. So it's because those patterns are so deeply embedded in it's almost like embedded in our souls, and we got to get it out. We have to find new ways of getting those systems out. And even now I know, like if I encounter someone who's incredibly narcissistic, which actually happened to me on the beach the other day, and I'm not going to go into the story, but it ended up making me feel very dysregulated. And it took me, because of my old habits of attaching to that type of negativity and aggression, which is what it was, I carried that for about 2 full days before I could kind of get it. It was almost like something stuck to me and it was sticky, and I just had to get it off me. So at least now I feel at this stage of recovery, I'm aware of such interactions and how they affect me. And we keep learning. So the next step would be, of course, to put what you've learned in the first 2 steps and start to now learn responsibility of solving problems, becoming a constructive member of society, making sound decisions. And of course, I like how they put these steps like in a certain order, because it does make sense that you do have to do them in a particular order. Of course, we do them as we learn these things. We don't go, okay, step one, regulate my emotions. Step two, like that. We don't do it like that. But there is a system of that. If you cannot regulate your emotions first, which is the first step, right? If you can't do that at the very basis, it is difficult to go on and fulfill your goals, to make a wise choice, right? If you even, again, relate back to a child who's upset, and I think of myself as a child when I was upset, I ran into some learning difficulties. Even though I was considered in some ways gifted, in other ways my learning was hindered because of my emotional dysregulation. And you see this in children everywhere, where their emotions are so out of control and there's so much going on in their environments that they find it difficult to learn and difficult to succeed. So there is a pattern to this. And I really like the way this, like I said, this kind of chart really outlines it and explains it very well. So, of course, as we move along and start to know how to solve problems when times get tough and get past them and make better decisions and all these things, then we can do what kind of, quote, normal people do in the world, which is set goals, make plans, and all those things that make you a productive member of society. And, of course, it is these things that kind of gear. You can look at a very successful person and say, wow, they got it all together, but you don't know, maybe in one part of their life things are just chaos. So the main goal of getting emotional intelligence and improving your emotional intelligence is that things are more balanced, and there's a more balanced approach to your life. And as you go through these steps and identify where your weaknesses are, it all blossoms into a more kind of productive way of living, right? And you can have someone that's so highly, highly intelligent. That's why we see people. I'm going to go out on a limb and give Elon Musk as an example. Extremely intellectually advanced, in my opinion, and business-wise, just very smart. However, you can see in some of his decisions in his private life and how he interacts with people, there's a low level of emotional intelligence. Now, if Elon Musk was to take the time, say take a couple of years and take a break from everything he's doing and focus inward and heal his direction, I believe if you put him with a high emotional quota, there would be nothing that he couldn't do. But to be honest with you, I can see him running into so many issues in the future because of his lack of emotional intelligence, really, certainly. Just my little examination and analysis right there. Hope no one is offended because I said something negative about Elon Musk. Couldn't help myself. So, and this is where the natural progression goes for human behavior. If you look at if the productivity in the previous, step is not being attained, then something else has to kind of fit into that area, right? And usually it is any of these negative patternings. And this is when you can watch that also develop in children. But as adults, if you've already reached these kinds of stages, it's important to stop each one of them. And this is again another incident where narcissists may not take that step. I always want to say everybody can change, everyone can, and I try to keep an open mind. But from every piece of information that I have read, every study, every narcissistic person that I've encountered, and then when I talk to other people in the recovery movement that has ongoing relationships with these people, I have yet to find a narcissist who willingly seeks out help, meaningful help. Again, like I say, they can mimic if it's something that's going to benefit their circumstances. They can mimic that they are healing, that they are getting direction, getting help. But for the most part, most narcissistic individuals have a difficult time with this step of not going there if things are dysregulated emotionally. And again, that to me is an indication of low emotional intelligence, because it takes a certain amount of gutso to turn negative patterning around. And oftentimes narcissists just do not have the emotional resources to do that. And here is like the higher, as we see each step gets to be a little higher, not only cognitively, but it seems to bring out a higher level of emotionality, right? As the steps progress. This one here, the ability to see empathy in situations, to empathize with others, like deeply, and empathy can go the other scale too, where we are too empathetic, like for people that feel for, like I've been involved with animal rescue for much of my life, and I had to curb a part of my life. I was so deeply entrenched into the animal abuse and animal recovery movement that, I lost myself for a period of years. And you get deeply entrenched into feeling the empathy. You don't want any animal to suffer, and you cannot tolerate it, and you have to take action, but then you harm yourself in the process. So that's, to me, I think a little bit of too much, not being able to balance the empathy. And I know as an empathic person, a sensitive person, I know not just me, but any person like me or a sensitive person can absorb things in the media. This pandemic, we absorbed so much from the pain of others, and are able to see the pain in other people's positions. And we can quickly pick up when someone doesn't have that empathetic character, part of the character. And the way everything is going in our world right now, it seems like that there's a smack dab division of empathetic people versus maybe narcissism. Maybe it's a war on narcissism, or narcissism we're experiencing. And the highest level, I think, of emotional intelligence is kind of like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which puts us at the highest level of creativity and productivity, right? Where we are able to balance our work with creativity, with being productive. Remember, with just living our lives in a productive manner. And it's like all the pieces put together, and this is the result. And I guess the important thing to do, if you are feeling that your emotional intelligence is not where it needs to be, whatever stage of life, whatever age, whatever circumstance, you can always dive into this. And like I said, the way that the system is on this website, it's really excellent. It's geared for kids. Don't get me wrong. However, there's plenty of stuff out there. I'm going to do my thing, link some things in the description box so you can maybe research this more a little if you're not already aware of it. Like I said, I was late, in life, identifying a very low intelligence of emotions. So I was high on intellectual scale and low on the emotional intelligence scale. So I have, over the years, with lots of different things I'm going to talk about in the next clip, the things to gain, a better emotional intelligence. And for me, because of my life and what happened in my early development, I will be working on this for the rest of my life. I'm acutely aware of that. But to be aware of it is a blessing. So our goal is to try to get to a place where we are putting I over E over our E over I, meaning our intellectual quotient is rising above our emotional quotient when it is necessary. When we're able to do that on a consistent basis, we are showing compassion for ourselves. And when we can show compassion for ourselves, we show it for other people. And I say it's a form of self-love. To make sound decisions, to, act in a way that's becoming of your higher self. Now, I was in a group the other day and they were talking about self-love, and there were some very strong people there in support of saying, you cannot say that to a survivor. They must love themselves before someone else can love them. Well, other people can love you no matter what your condition. People can always love you, right? But in order for us to be our authentic selves, our strongest selves, our higher selves, we must love ourselves. It's essential that we come to show compassion to ourselves. When we are draining ourselves and with everything out and everything reactive, everything doing everything for other people but nothing for ourselves, that's not necessarily compassion. Compassion is putting yourself in a strong position so that then you're able to help others in a more solid way. And ways to do that, to achieve this kind of balance, to raise your emotional quotient, there are so many things you can do. Music, it's kind of like, when I look at it, it's kind of like the fun stuff in life, right? It's music. It's going to the beach and enjoying the beach, the surroundings, socializing with people that are healthy, seeing nature and being one at nature, doing things that you like, art, animals, like, to me, going on nature walks is a very important part of my recovery base. But it has to be things that you enjoy. I mean, someone can enjoy maybe going on road trips, or someone can enjoy going to car races, whatever it is that you enjoy, as long as it's not to excess, because even good things and healthy things can be in excess. And it's all about balance, and it's all about raising your balance and raising your EQ. I know that for me, it's going to be a lifelong process. It's not just something you achieve, okay, I got it now. Because there's always going to be things that interfere with your process, and there's always going to be setbacks, and there's always going to be things that remind you. And if you're suffering from things like PTSD or other conditions, you're going to be literally, like they say, triggered, and it's going to take some time to come back on your train. But as long as you do come back, as long as you are working towards it, and as long as you're aware, you're doing a lot more than a lot of other people. So if you want more information, or I'd love to hear your own experiences about this, and if you're aware of your own emotional intelligence level, if you feel it's something you want to grow towards, it's something I find fascinating, and I love learning about it. I'll put as much information as I can up here to get you started. This is just the start of the rest of your life. Thank you. I'm humbled that you listened to me this long, and I hope you're having a peaceful time in your life. Excuse me. And remember to reach out if you have any questions about this topic. Peace.